Hello everyone, Prof Sales coming at you with another video in our beginner series on how to get started on eBay, how to get started reselling. And I hope you're having a great day. It's Wednesday, February 15th. I still have a cold, so I will try to get through this best I can. I apologize, my voice doesn't sound that great. And honestly, I wish it did, because nobody wishes they were over this cold any quicker than I do. But let's make sure that you guys can hear me okay. As okay as I can sound in this situation. Let me know in the chat if the volume is okay and you're able to hear the audio and synced up all right. Looks like it is. We'll get right into the subject here today. So I want to talk to you guys today about this topic of refreshing the old or making your eBay business seem new again. And okay, great. We can hear, everybody can hear me. You know, a lot of times we get started in reselling and we get to a point where we reach what we call a comfort zone, but we're really not sure if we're really doing everything we can to, you know, maximize our profitability, our potential. So I'm going to share a few topics or a few sections that I think tie into this idea about making your business seem new again. And hopefully they'll make sense, and we'll have some question time and so on. Karen is not with me. Unfortunately, she is on the road today visiting family, but she'll be back. Other people have a cold too. Great. This cold is no joke, I'm telling you. All right, so the number one way that you can make your eBay business seem new again is don't sit on your inventory. So what do I mean by that? Now, there's a big debate in the reselling community about whether you should go for the quick nickel or the slow dime. But I'm not sure that's really the question we should be asking. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it just means, should you look to turn items really, really quickly to make a smaller profit but make it faster? Or should you wait a little longer to make a bigger profit, but it's going to take you longer to get it? That's the quick nickel versus slow dime approach. I think the better question is, how much is your inventory costing you to sit on given so many days, so many weeks, so many months? So here's how I'll phrase it. If your inventory is costing you the opportunity to go buy more inventory that will sell in the same time frame or in a quicker time frame, then you need to turn that inventory. So what does that look like? So let's say you spend $5. We'll take my example that I do a lot here on my channel. Let's say I take a $5 and buy a pair of jeans. So that pair of jeans is sitting there on the shelf. It's not costing me any more time and energy really to deal with it. Maybe you could argue if I'm relisting it every 30 days, I'm having to click a button to say relist. But what it is costing me is that $5 that I put into it, I can't get that back out until somebody buys it. Because, you know, lumped into that cost of buying that item and what I'm going to sell it for is the assumption that, all right, I buy for 5, maybe I sell it for 20. I'm going to get some profit back out of it, but I'm going to get that $5 back out and flip it again and again and again and again. So this goes back to, you know, what is your time worth? Because if my $5, I mean, think of it this way, guys. For every pair of jeans I have sitting on the shelf, you can imagine that's a $5 bill or a $10 bill or $1 bill or whatever your sourcing cost is. It doesn't matter. But that's actually a stack of money sitting there on that shelf. And it's doing nothing for you until it sells. Now, what's tricky about this is you got to figure out how quick do you want it to sell. And then once you figure that out, you can figure out, well, what can I do to make it sell that quick? A lot of people will tell you that, all right, you don't want that $5 sitting on your shelf tied up in inventory. You want to sell it quick. So instead of waiting to get $20 for it, Prof, sell it for $15 and it'll sell quicker. There's a couple problems with that approach. One, you don't know that it'll sell quicker. You think it will, but price is not the only consideration when people are looking at your item. They're also looking at your photos, your keywords, all these things change where you rank in a search and so on. And two, it's a calculation, because let's say, for instance, that I have a $5 pair of jeans that I can sell tomorrow for $15. But now let's say that I also know that I could sell them 2 days from now for $20. Which is better? Kind of depends on your point of view, I suppose. Are you willing to wait an extra day for an extra $5? Or do you want to go ahead and get that money at a lesser profit tomorrow? Now, I know we don't, in the real world, we don't know exactly how long it's going to take for something to sell at one price versus another, but you can kind of make guesses at that, because if you go on eBay and you look at the sold listings for the item that you're selling and compare it to yours and find one that's comparable, you can see like how many have sold in a given time frame at certain kind of price points. It's not super easy, but you can kind of eyeball this and say, all right, here's 100 of these items that have sold in the past 2 months. And it looks like 50 of them are in this range and below. And then maybe 20 are this range, another 20 are this range, and maybe 10's up here at the high range. You don't know how long they sat, but you know that in a 2-month period that this many are going to sell, and roughly this many in this range of prices, this range, and this range. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of work, and it is a lot of work. But if you're selling a commodity item like jeans or button-down shirts or, excuse me, socks, anything that people you can flip in volume, you're going to need to know how quick your sell-through is and at what price point. Because you've got to make the decision, guys, are you going to sell in your inventory, and if so, how long? Because your inventory, while it's setting, it's an asset in your business, but it is costing you opportunity costs, because you can't get that money back out to go put it in something else. So you've got to make a decision on how long am I willing to sit on this item before I want to move it? And if I'm not willing to sit on it any longer, how can I move it quicker? Is it price? Is it some other factors we'll talk about here in a moment that you need to change? But sitting on your inventory is a surefire way for your business to slow down to the point where, you know, you won't be making the profit you thought you were making. You won't be getting the sales you thought you were getting. And I see so many people on the reselling boards and so on that come on, they say, I've had 50 items up for 3 months and I've only sold 1 item or 2 items. And I want to say to them, you know, if you sat there for 2 or 3 months with 50 items up and only sold 1 or 2, you probably sat there 2 months too long. You need to be a little bit more proactive than that if you really want to move through items. But I would ask them, you know, you have to decide at what point is your item up for too long and you need to go ahead and move it so you can get that money back out of it. So freshening up your inventory by not sitting on it is one quick way to make your eBay business seem new again. Number 2 is to check for new sourcing options. Man, this one's critical, and this one never, ever ends. You are always going to have new sourcing options around you. You just need to open up your eyes and look. If you've only sourced at one type of thrift store or estate sales or yard sales or by the pallet or however you're doing it, you need to examine other ways that you can source, because there are other ways. And just because you have a preconceived notion of how they are doesn't mean that really is how they are. For instance, Karin and I spent a lot of time last spring hitting yard sales. And we found that when we hit the big community sales, even though the majority of the houses we stopped at, we did not buy anything, the fact that we could get through so many of them in a short amount of space because they were so close together more than made up for striking out at a majority of the stops. You know, so if we went to one community, I remember, and we ended up going to about 40 houses in that community. It was a big community, a lot of sales. And I would say we probably only bought things at maybe 20%. But the things that we bought were really good and really profitable. And it was well worth the 2 hours we spent in that community to do it. But you might say, oh, I don't want to go to yard sales because I go and it's always a bunch of crap and I never can find anything great. Well, maybe if you can find a community sale, you can find a way to hit a whole bunch at once and just have the law of averages on your side there. You know that, yeah, there's a lot of different, a lot of different places here. Most of them are not going to work out for me, but I may find a few here and there that will be really good, and that will make up for it. So, you got to think about new sourcing opportunities, guys, to refresh your business, because the way you're doing it today is not necessarily going to be the way you're doing it next year or 5 years from now. The markets change, people come in and out of them, tastes change, especially if you're dealing with clothing and fashion. If you're selling designer label fashion, there are some classics out there that seem to hold on. But, even in jeans, which is more of a commodity-based business that we focus a lot on, there's a lot of different brands that come and go over time. And then they'll come back again sometimes. So you've got to be able to keep your eyes open, for other sourcing options, because, it's not always going to work the way it worked today. Tomorrow's a new day. It may start to evolve and change, and chances are it will. And you've got to evolve with it. You've got to keep an open mind to, all right, this new store opened down the street. We just had one like that recently, Karin and I, a thrift store here locally. We had never been to it. It just opened about 6 or 8 months ago. And we kind of never drove that way, so we didn't notice it. But we did notice it eventually, and we went in it, and it wasn't great. I'll be honest with you. I mean, the clothing prices were higher than what we like to pay. However, I did find, one pair of jeans that ended up selling for like $50 that I paid $5 for because they didn't know what they had. It was a Japanese brand called Japrag. I'd never even seen them before. And, that alone made the trip worth it. That alone made the trip for, being there for 30 minutes. Plus, we learned that store is probably not going to be a common source of goods for us in the future. So we can mark it off the list. We know now. You've got to be able to always evolve and expand out with your sourcing, guys. That's also, now that's not to say, I'm not saying that you need to go spend more time sourcing. Please let me be clear on that. I'm saying that you need to do it differently sometimes. You need to seek out different avenues, a different type of sourcing, whether it be at an estate sale or a thrift or, the bins, what have you. We've moved out into the bins in the past couple months. I mean, whatever it is, you've got to do it, guys. I mean, that's going to keep your business fresh and new and exciting for you, and also open your eyes up to other opportunities. So make sure that you're focusing on other sourcing opportunities. The last one I have for you guys today, and then I'll take some questions if you guys have it. Again, excuse me for the cold I have. It's killing me. But you need to be able to go in to check your listings and see what's sitting there in your eBay listings for a while. Now, this goes back to like your inventory system a little bit. If you're using an inventory system with sequential numbers, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. It's very easy to go in, if that's in your custom label field in eBay, it's very easy to go in and sort that column of your active listings by that number. So you can see all your oldest ones that you have, because your oldest ones are going to be the ones that started the lowest number, right? One's going to be a little bit older than 2 and a little bit older than 3 and so on. You need to go in and make some decisions on those guys, because this kind of goes back to number 1, not sitting on your inventory. If you have a bunch of older items sitting in eBay, I don't know what you would say is a good percentage. I would say if you're a clothing seller and you're not selling something that's super niche-y, if you're selling like commodities like I do, if you have like, I'm just going to throw a number on it for myself, and you can determine if this number makes sense for your model. If you have more than, say, 10% of your inventory that is more than, say, 6 months old, I would probably take some action on those and get those out of there. They're costing you money. I'll give you an example. Like if you have 1,000 listings and you have 100 of them that you paid $5 for that are sitting there for more than 6 months, that's $500 of inventory that you could take and put it back into something that would move quicker and get a profit today, that you're not moving. So go in and make some changes. And here's the changes I would make. I would look at, because remember guys, you're going to become better and better at listing and how you put things on these platforms as you progress. So your initial first ones are going to be kind of crappy. Just like if you go back and look at my first videos on this channel, they're terrible. I don't want to look at, I want to delete some of them honestly, but I've gotten a little better. But your listings are the same way. They're not going to be as good at the beginning. I'm not suggesting go back in and create whole new listings necessarily, but it's not a bad idea to go in and at least check your titles. See if they have the right keywords in them. See if they do have keywords in them. Check your pricing. See if you're in line with that particular brand or fit or size of item, and if your price is in line with that. Look at your terms. You know, you can always blow things out, but I'm going to tell you guys, I hate selling things at a loss. I mean, I understand flipping capital back out. I know some resellers out there do this. They will take an item that's been sitting in their inventory a long time and put it up for 99 cents and sell it, which pretty much puts you at a loss, especially if you put something silly on it like free shipping, because now you're just eating the shipping cost completely. Even if it's a 5-ounce item, you know, you still got to eat that $2.50 or whatever it comes out to in first class shipping. I'm not a believer in that. I think you can still sell things at a really low price and make a little bit of profit on them and blow them out. So I don't think you have to go in there and just blow things out at 99 cents and take a loss on them. I wouldn't recommend that. I don't think that's a good business model. If you're really large and you're flipping money out because you're paying interest, like when I worked for some major retailers, we borrowed money to buy our next season's line. So we're paying interest on that money we borrowed. And it's a lot of money. It's like tens of millions of dollars in interest. You need cash flow coming in to pay off that interest because it's expensive. You're not borrowing money probably if you're a reseller, so you don't have that hurdle to overcome. I would not recommend selling things at a loss. I would just say, let's say for me, in my case, I got a pair of jeans I got priced at $17.50, and they've been sitting there for, I don't know, a year. Maybe I go in and mark them down to 12 and try to get rid of them. That's a pretty big jump. I will still make some money on them at $12, but I'm not going to go in and mark them down to $2. The other thing is too, guys, like when you mark stuff down that low, you are contributing to the problem of destroying the pricing of a market. You know, whether you think you are or not, you are. When everyone else in the market or 95% of the sellers are up here at like, you know, $8 or $10 or $12, and all of a sudden you price something at $1, you're kind of hurting everyone's results a little bit. You're devaluing, you know, the price of that item, and it's hurting the market. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. I just think it's bad business. I don't think it makes much sense, but I think you do need to go in, and probably 6 months is a good term. I mean, I think 6 months, if you've had a clothing item that long, you should really look to move it faster, unless it's something very unusual and has to, one particular buyer's got to come along for. But if it's something very basic, you know, if you got a pair of 34, 32 Levi's 505s and they're sitting there for a year, move them on out. You know, let's get rid of them if you can. And I'm always doing that with my listings. I'm always looking for ways to get rid of the older ones, just to get that capital back out and make space for new stuff. So there's the 3 things. Don't sit on your inventory because not turning it costs you money. Check for new sourcing opportunities, and use your SKU systems on eBay to go in and check your inventory. Make sure that your pricing and keywords and things like that are right, so you can keep moving out older items. All right. Whew, that was tough because, man, this is cold. All right, so if you guys have questions and so on, leave me a question in the chat. I will definitely try to get to it. Tino, hey, Tino, how you doing, buddy? Tino's wife just had a baby, so everybody say congrats to Tino, please, in the chat. First child, so that's awesome. Tino says discount first before you give it away. Exactly. Don't give it away. Excuse me. Rad Seller says, sometimes I've taken better photos from old listings, but it takes time. Yeah, that's the problem, Rad. I mean, at that point, Rad, you might as well just do a whole new listing. If you're going to take new photos, you might as well just put up a whole new listing, because the photos take a big chunk of the time. I'm not saying you shouldn't ever go back and take new photos. Maybe your photos were really bad. In that case, and if it's the type of clothing item that needs great photos, which most of them do, maybe there's a case to be made there, but you hate to put in extra time into that item. Like every moment you put in that item, you're losing money on your hourly rate's going down. So you really don't want to do that anymore than you have to. All right. Flipped my lid said I was chopping because I'm in New York City and space is so costly. Yeah, and that's always a consideration. I mean, if you're trying to get rid of things because your space costs you a lot of money, I get it. But it can be such a tricky game to play, guys, when you're just dropping prices to the point where, I mean, I don't get the logic in selling something at a loss. I know that big companies do it. They have loss leaders. They try to get people in the door, you know, so they can sell them other higher priced items where they'll make more profit. I get that. It's a viable strategy. But when you're a one man or one woman show here as a reseller, you really can't afford to sell too many items at a loss. I mean, that really, really hurts your bottom line. And remember, you put just as much time into an item you sell at a loss as you do one you sell at a profit. I would recommend cutting a price is fine, but I would still try to squeeze some profit out of it. I would do that before I just cut it down to a bargain basement, 99 cents, get it out the door. I mean, and by the way, this is one other tip. You're probably going to find this, and lots of people who do it will say this is true. When you sell your items for like 99 cents on eBay, you're going to find that a lot of those transactions are the ones you have the most trouble with from buyers, simply because they don't value the item, because they don't think you do, because the price is so low. And any little nick or problem with it, they're going to be like, I can't believe you did this. And they're going to try to want to get a full refund for it because they're not in it for much money. So they end up getting the item for free. So another good reason not to blow it out quite that low. Let's see what else we got here. Victoria says, just donate stuff, a tax write-off. Yeah, you can do that. Talk to your tax professional about what you can donate it for. And that's definitely a possibility, but if you've got the room and it's on your eBay listings and you've already got it listed, you've got time and energy already invested in that product, I would try to get some return. And donation doesn't really get you any return. I mean, yeah, it gets you a write-off, but if you can sell it and make some profit on it, you might as well do it. It doesn't take long to just change a price. But if you would have to go in and completely revamp it, or the market's just dried up for that item, then donation might make the most sense. What do you do in a small town for sourcing? We don't have bins either. David, I would look in a small town. We had a guy on our show not long ago, Zane, and he was in a small town upstate New York. He came up with a lot of ideas around yard sales and estate sales and things like that, finding things off of Craigslist that he could sort of do like an arbitrage where people were selling things for less than it would go for online. I would look to those sorts of resources if you're in a small town. Obviously, you could consider driving to a larger town and creating a sourcing day and hitting several locations in one time to maximize the efficiency, of your time. I wouldn't go to just one store. You'd want to be able to go to several. But I would try those strategies if you're in a smaller town. Let's see. Lauren says her returns only come from my $20 and under items. Yeah, I mean, and you're going to get returns, but when you sell something for nothing, it's like, let's see. Good Use Good says, I'd love to have a debate with you about pricing and lower end clear out items, only because you have different views that are interesting and not in line with mine. Cool to see the differences. Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, Good. there's nothing wrong with selling your items at, if you want to blow them out, blow them out. I'm just saying, I think you're giving up a lot of profit in a lot of cases for no bang for your buck. You're actually losing money, and now you're effectively working for a negative hourly rate. I mean, if you lose $5 and you put an hour into it, you lost $5 an hour, you know? I mean, so that hurts your hourly rate. And that's what this business should be about to some degree is, you know, how can you maximize your hourly rate? And you don't do that when you sell items at a loss. I would just caution people against selling items at a loss. I think it's not a very good business strategy in the long term when you're small, because you just can't afford too many of those. Let's see what else we got here. Questions and so on. The barber's wife says, if you use your eBay username on all your social media platforms, has anyone been contacted by eBay buyers that way and had a bad experience? I've had eBay buyers contact me and say, hey, I watch your YouTube channel. So far, no bad experiences, but I'm sure it'll happen. But obviously, if you put yourself out there in social media, YouTube, what have you, you're going to have some bad experiences from time to time, and that just comes with the territory. So no, your question was not off topic. It all works out. Krillin says, is this a half shift? Yeah, Krillin, I'm on a half shift today. I'm on a sick day. Again, this is sick day number 3 or 4 I'm on. Man, I'll tell you, this cold is just massively bad, or whatever this mess is. I'm trying to read Good Use Goods comment. I have a friend that may sell one item for $100 while I sell 25 plus items for 10 or 20. Yeah, but it's, you know, you got to compare apples to apples. I mean, you can't compare one type of item to another necessarily. They've got to be the same item. I mean, like with a pair of jeans, for instance, let's say it's 7 fam A pockets, you know, a size 28. You know, the top end of that might be, you might even get 35 or 40 bucks for. The bottom end, you'll see people selling for sometimes 10 bucks. Well, if you hold out for a $35 or $40 sale, it's going to take you a little longer for sure. But you've only got to sell the person selling for $10 has to sell 3.5 or 4 times as many in the same time frame to equal your one sale. So there's something to think about. And that works for any math. Like if you're selling a $10 item and I'm selling a $20 item and our cost of goods is the same, okay? I only have to sell half as many in the same amount of time as you do to be even with you. Now, how many will I sell in a given time frame in you? That can be a little tricky to figure out, but we can look at the solds and completeds and so on and make some guesses at that. But that's something to think about, you know, and I can't tell you what's the right plan for you and your business. It's going to depend on a lot of factors. But I do think that selling for, you know, anytime where like you're selling for super low amounts where you're losing money, I just think that's not the best strategy. Hey, Chad, what's up, buddy? Let's see. I'm trying to catch the question. Sorry, guys, I don't have my my question checker here, Karin. Let's see. Lauren says she always holds out for 30 to 50 on the 7 fams and higher size. Yeah, and I agree with you, Lauren, and I do too a lot of times. Mike, what's up, Mike? Global Voodoo says, if you can't sell an item for under $20, it sits for a year, you dump for a small profit or purge. If you have 5,000 items on eBay and you don't lose, it's trouble. Yeah, and that's basically what I'm saying. You're going to make a smaller profit, but I think that's a better strategy than making no profit or losing money. If you had to donate it, technically you're probably going to lose money on that item. But you're going to get something back out of it, maybe just a tax benefit. But yeah, at some point you probably do need to dump it, unless you've just got the room for it and space to spare, and most of us don't have that. What do you do for health insurance when you work for yourself? You buy it. I don't know what to tell you there, David. You can start a corporation and employ yourself and have your corporation buy and get a deduction. There's a tip. Talk to your tax professional. Let's see. Sometimes, Rad says, sometimes when a lot of money is invested in an item, I think people just need it back, even if they lose a little, then they can reinvest in better items. Yeah. I mean, if you're putting $100 into an item to buy it, maybe you're going to sell it for 300, you're probably not going to dump that for 99 cents, right? I mean, you're going to wait because you've got a lot more invested. But it's really no different putting $100 in one item versus putting $5 in 20 items. It's the same amount of money. But you still got to make a determination about when exactly you're going to cut your losses on it and for how much. We're almost at the top of the half hour here. Let's see what else we got here. I just sourced a bunch of items this week that I know will be slow to sell, but they'll be big profit when I do. To me, it's worth the wait, Lauren says. Yeah, exactly. And if you have the time to wait to get top dollar on an item, it's funny Chad's in here because he's kind of a faster nickel kind of guy. And but if you have the time to wait and it's a specialty item, or it's just not even special, you just think that like you can get it, then wait. But at the same time, if it's a commodity based item and it's not really going to sell for a whole lot, there's no premium market for it. Like I was saying earlier, if you have a pair of Levi 505 3430s, you're not, I mean, that's not like a high-end Levi's unless it's a really old pair. So, it's not like you're going to wait forever to get top dollar on those. Top dollar is not going to be that much better than sort of middle dollar and low dollar. So you could go ahead and probably safely liquidate those at a slightly lower price and just keep turning your inventory and keep money coming in to feed the business. Yeah. Let's see here. Will YouTube eBayers ruin the market eventually? Nope, I don't think so, Blitz and Buki. I don't think that's really possible. We have power, but we don't have that much power. Maybe Chad does. Yeah, Chad, call off your event, man. You're running eBay. You're running eBay for everyone by having everybody come to Chicago. Oh man, that debate never seems to go away, and it just doesn't compute. I'm sorry, guys. The secrets are out. Pandora's box is open. All the ways to make money on eBay. If another YouTuber never made another video, it wouldn't matter. I mean, can't put the genie back in the bottle. Let's see what else we got here. Maybe one more question if we have it. Victoria says, I just sold a jacket for $100. I listed for 2 years. It was a vintage Guess jean jacket. Nice. And that's probably worth holding on for 2 years because you're looking for one certain buyer for that, Victoria. I mean, that's not a commodity type item because you said in your description it's a vintage type item. Clearly, you're looking for one buyer. Let's see what else we got here. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you guys for watching today. I don't see any other questions coming in, so my voice is about to give out. I do appreciate it. 113 people watching. Hit the like button if you like the video and you like the content. I do appreciate it. Lets me know I'm doing a good job. We'll be back tomorrow with another video on sort of this reseller beginner series, I guess if you want to call it, for lack of a better word. Leave me a comment or question down below. I'll try to answer it. I promise I'll sound even better tomorrow, hopefully. Today sounds awful to me. And hopefully you guys got something out of it and are enjoying the series. We'll be back with another 30-minute show tomorrow at 2 o'clock is the plan, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. All right, so that's going to do it for now, and hopefully we'll have Karen back tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe she'll make an appearance, but hope you guys enjoyed the show, and go out there and kill it the rest of the day. This is Prof Sales saying good sales to you.